This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now let us begin the asset accounting configuration. This is very important, mandatory from your real-time point of view, mandatory from your interview point of view, mandatory from your project point of view. If you know the asset accounting thoroughly, if you know the asset accounting properly, you can clearly mention that you are expert or you have experience on asset accounting, or in your previous projects, in your previous assignments, majorly you worked only on asset accounting. You can highlight most of the projects, most of the assignments only on asset accounting on your resume, on your interview, if you learn asset accounting thoroughly, because this will have that much weightage in your interview or in your project as well. Okay. Now, it is not so easy that just like that you will create or you will configure asset accounting. When you're configuring asset accounting, make sure there are certain points, there are certain prerequisites that are met, there are certain conditions that are satisfied to ensure your asset accounting that you are creating is exactly the same as the asset accounting that is used in any global company or in any multinational company. Okay, so you're not supposed to find any difference, you're not supposed to find any mismatch between your asset accounting configuration calculation with any real-time company asset accounting configuration calculation. It has to be exactly the same. Only then the asset accounting that you're configuring, the asset accounting that you're learning is valid. Otherwise, it is of no use. It is not going to help you clear your interview. It is not going to help you configure. It is not going to help you resolve the problems, issues that you are getting from asset accounting when you're in a project. Right? So the way you find original and then fake in the asset accounting, also you have original asset accounting, you have fake asset accounting. Be very careful about the original asset accounting with the fake asset accounting. Let us write down certain points which are prerequisites before you create or before you configure asset accounting. Let me put prerequisite. Under prerequisite, point number 1, leading ledger and non-leading ledger. First point, leading ledger, non-leading ledger. Second point, local currency and group currency. Third point, accounting principles. Fourth point, multiple fiscal year variance. Fourth point, multiple fiscal year variance. Now, first let's talk about only these 4 points. Let's say if you want to perform asset accounting or if you want to configure asset accounting. When you are performing asset accounting or when you want to configure asset accounting, first thing that you require is a company code. Am I correct? Point number 1, you need is company code. Against this company code, you are going to set up asset accounting. Now, when you are taking a company code, make sure whatever the company code that you have, let's say I am talking about DEIN company code, which is Dell India Private Limited. This is the company code that we are talking about. Next one, once you have this information, list out country. Which country your company code belongs to. If your company code belongs to India, then you are going to set up asset accounting for India. You are going to set up asset accounting for India. This asset accounting is called as localization. Localization, or we call it as legal requirement. Okay, tomorrow if somebody is asking you, have you worked on any localizations or any legal requirements, mention you worked on asset accounting, because asset accounting is one of your localization or legal requirement. Another localization legal requirement is taxation. Another point related to localization or legal requirement is taxation. These are called as localization legal requirement because your asset accounting is country specific. Your asset accounting is country specific, which means the way your fixed assets are treated, handled in India is different with the way the fixed assets are treated in any other country is different. Two countries will not have same treatment of your fixed assets because this is localization or this is country specific requirement. Okay, without knowing what is your company code, what is the country in which you are operating, please, we are not supposed to create asset accounting configuration. Next point that you have to understand is fixed asset treatment or fixed asset accounting treatment in the respective country. Fixed asset accounting treatment in the respective country. If your company code belongs to India, you must understand how your fixed assets are treated in India. When you're talking about fixed assets, you're talking about depreciation. When you're talking about fixed assets or when you're talking about asset accounting, we are talking about depreciation. How depreciation is calculated, how depreciation is treated in India is first point that we have to understand before we set up or before we start practicing asset accounting. In India, how depreciation is calculated, we have to understand on what accounting principles we are going to calculate asset accounting in India. Another point we have to understand. Let's say in India, we will be using one Indian Companies Act, two will be Indian Income Tax Act. Is this correct? Those who are working in core accounting will have to rectify, correct if some point is written wrong, if some point is ignored. Is this correct? You have to valuate your assets according to Indian Companies Act, according to Indian Income Tax Act. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, next one, depreciation treatment in ICA and IIT, Indian Companies Act and Indian Income Tax Act. How we are going to treat a depreciation in Indian Companies Act, how we are going to treat a depreciation in Indian Income Tax Act. How are we going to treat, how your depreciation is calculated in Indian Companies Act based on percentage or based on useful life?
Useful life.
In ICA, this is based on useful life. In IIT,
Based on percentage.
based on percentage. Because so far we are only talking about India. That is why we are writing in India you have to evaluate your fixed assets according to Indian Companies Act law and according to Indian Income Tax Act law. This is mandatory for every company that is operating in India. No exception for any organization. So every organization must perform Indian Companies Act, Indian Income Tax Act. For example, you are telling in your project, in your interview that you worked on asset accounting or you know asset accounting. Now, if you look at your resume, you are going to have list of projects. you are going to look at your resume, you are going to have list of projects. By any chance, if you are projecting any client of India, let's say you are going to have any project which is related to Indian client. If you are asked a question how your asset accounting is implemented and how the depreciation is calculated, majoritarily we will create a big mistake here stating whoever is asking the asset accounting, we will end up telling depreciation in percentage. This is common mistake which most of the people will commit. Because when you're talking about asset accounting, first thing that we need to keep in our mind is country for which you're talking about asset accounting. And we ignore this country and then we will try to generalize asset accounting, which is not in reality. In reality, your asset accounting is not generalized. It is purely country specific. You have to be very clear in your resume, in your projects, which country client you are mentioning, for which country you have used asset accounting. Accordingly, you have to know certain points from SAP system from the standard setup. If you know from India, let's say you have been asked a question, how depreciation is calculated, how you have created a depreciation and all. If you are mentioning based on percentage, straight line method 10%, straight away gone. Correct? Huh? If you are telling me that depreciation you have created based on 10% straight line method, 15% WDV method, you are wrong. Because in India, according to Indian Companies Act, your depreciation is calculated based on useful life. But you are telling you worked for a project, you worked in a client, you have an experience, but you are telling you created a depreciation based on percentage, which is not reality. That one line is giving the complete picture of your experience, the complete picture of your interview feedback. That one line will lead to straight away rejection. There are certain points, there are certain topics like this in which we have to have a clear, thorough understanding right from the beginning, so that there is no point you will get confused, there is no point you will commit mistakes. Right? So we understood that in Indian Companies Act, your depreciation is always calculated based on useful life. Next one, according to Indian Income Tax Act, your depreciation is always calculated based on percentage. Next thing, once you have these points in your mind, that is where you are going to start your asset accounting. Next one, after seeing these points from your company code, you need to understand what is your company code, what is the country in which your company code is created, how depreciation or how fixed assets are valuated in that particular country, what are the local reporting requirements. Those reporting requirements you have to understand. If you do not know, even if you Google it, you will get it, because this is country specific legal requirement. On Google also you will get the same information along with all the depreciation calculation methods. This information you need to keep it ready. Point number one, for your interview purpose. Point number two, to experiment different scenarios. Once these points are clear, next thing is to talk about this prerequisites. Let's say I'll put company code DEIN. I'll put company code DEIN here. For DEIN, do we have leading ledger, non-leading ledger? Let's say we have leading ledger 0L and non-leading ledger D1. Correct? You have leading ledger 0L and we have created non-leading ledger D1 for our company code. So this is okay. If you don't have non-leading ledger, then you are not supposed to create asset accounting configuration in your company code. That is unfit. If you do not have two ledgers, your company code is unfit for performing asset accounting. Point number two, local currency and group currency. Do you have local currency and group currency? For our company code, do we have local and group currencies? Yes, we have local currency, we have group currency. Our local currency is 10 and group currency is 30. In short, INR and dollar. So if you have two currencies, then this is okay. If you do not have two currencies, your company code is working only on one currency, then your company code is unfit for asset accounting. Third one, accounting principles. Do you have accounting principles defined for your company code? If yes, there must be two accounting principles minimum. If you are working only on one accounting principle, your company code is unfit for asset accounting. Right? So here you have ICA and IFRS. If you have two accounting principles, your company code is fit for asset accounting. If not, unfit. Next one, multiple fiscal year variants. Do we have multiple fiscal year variants? Yes, we do have. One is Jan to December and the other one is April to March. If you have two, your company code is fit, if not unfit. Now, is this criteria met for all your company codes, whatever you have created so far? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
This is status. If it is okay, then you can start asset accounting configuration in your company code. If any point is not okay, please do not configure, please do not learn, please do not follow that asset accounting. Simple, straightforward. Anywhere if you find not okay, anywhere if you find this criteria is not met, your company code is not fit to perform asset accounting, which exactly happens in a real-time multinational company. Clear, right? Now here you need to understand certain basic points. Before we start, we need to understand certain basic points. Now, first thing is your chart of depreciation. Okay, first point is your chart of depreciation. Your entire asset accounting is dependent on chart of depreciation. I'll say entire asset accounting is dependent on chart of depreciation. We call it as COD. Okay, when you hear something called a COD, remember this is your chart of depreciation. Your entire asset accounting is dependent on chart of depreciation. Now, chart of depreciation you are not going to create on your own. Okay, so we will not create COD on our own. Okay, even in the project, you are not going to create chart of depreciation on your own because that is not allowed in system. You cannot create a new entry for your chart of depreciation, for which you must always copy an existing chart of depreciation from the SAP pre-defined chart of depreciations and make your own entry. Okay, so we will copy from SAP predefined COD. Okay, we will copy from SAP predefined COD. SAP delivers country specific CODs with the baseline configuration. Okay, SAP delivers country specific chart of depreciation with the baseline configuration. If you are clear or if you are not clear about any particular country's chart of depreciation or fixed asset treatment, first thing that you do is go to SAP, find out the chart of depreciation for that particular country, because there is no rule that you have to be an Indian to work for an Indian project. You have to be a US citizen to work for a US project. You have to be an Australian to work for an Australian project. Is there any such rule? No, right? So you can work for any project, you can work for any country, which means you have to be flexible to adjust to get the requirement of any particular country and map that particular country's local or legal requirement in asset accounting, for which you may not be aware of how asset accounting or how fixed assets are treated in a respective or in a particular country. For that, you don't need to do any other exercises. You need to know that SAP pre-delivers or SAP predefined that particular country's chart of depreciation inbuilt in SAP, and all the reporting requirements configurations are already performed in this standard SAP system. You must know how to verify standard SAP settings and how to understand the local requirement. Accordingly, we have to start defining, or accordingly we have to start configuring the system. Now, when you are configuring the system, there are 2 points. There are 2 points before you start your configuration. Step number 1 is your company code prerequisites. Step number 1 is company code prerequisite, which is this. If your company code has these prerequisites, your step number 1 is okay. Now, step number 2. Step number 2, define and assign COD to a company code. This is point number 2. Step number 1 is company code prerequisites. Ensure that these settings are available for your company code. Ensure that these settings are available for your company code. Status for all these points is okay from your side. Next one is to define and assign chart of depreciation to your company code. This is your point number 2. If your point number 1 is not okay, do not go to point number 2. Once your point number is okay, let's go to point number 2 to see how chart of depreciation is created and how this is assigned to a company code. Only these 2 points you have to focus. Creating chart of depreciation, assigning chart of depreciation to your company code in a proper way to meet all the business requirement, to meet the actual country specific local reporting or legal reporting requirement. Now, we will not be doing these things directly. I will be showing you things with different errors, why we are getting the error and how we need to resolve, what we need to do to rectify these errors. Because when somebody is asking you these points in your interview, they are more focused on these kind of areas. Because if you are good at this, anybody will tell you are good at asset accounting. If you are ignoring these 2 points, whatever you talk in the asset accounting is not going to make much difference, is not going to add much value to your explanation. Okay. Now let's start with this point now, because I hope everybody company code is having the prerequisite. Right, that is how we have created company code right from the beginning. Next one, let's start the configuration. Asset accounting configuration. Now all your asset accounting configuration is done in T code ORFA. ORFA is the single transaction code which is used for your complete asset accounting configuration. Let me open ORFA here. On SAP, let's type ORFA. If I type ORFA, you will get an IMG path which is exclusively showing asset accounting related configuration. Okay, this is exclusively showing asset accounting configuration. Now in this point number 1, what we are going to do is, our target is only one. First thing, your target is to create a chart of depreciation and assign to a company code which has all the prerequisites. This is mandatory condition to be kept in your mind. Now create a chart of depreciation, assign this to your company code. All the other parameters you are going to learn automatically by doing this step. Whatever is required for you to learn the proper asset accounting, Everything you will learn in this step. Anything if you are missing out, system is not going to allow you to assign the chart of depreciation. If you are able to assign the chart of depreciation, means you understood all the key elements of your asset accounting. Let's try to do it. So first, I'm not going to write the path and all. I'm only going to put the configuration node that we are using. First thing, you are going to define organization structure. Inside the organization structure, let's go to copy reference chart of depreciation or depreciation areas. Let me click on this. Now I'll click on copy reference chart of depreciation. Double click on this. Here, as we discussed, you will not be able to create a chart of depreciation on your own. You must copy from existing chart of depreciation. SAP pre-delivers country-specific chart of depreciation in every system. To do that, click on this copy icon, copy organization object, and click on this from chart of depreciation. Open this. Now logic here is SAP pre-delivers country-specific chart of depreciation based on a naming convention called 0 followed by country code. 0 followed by country code. In ECC system, it is 1 followed by country code. In S4HANA, your standard chart of depreciation is 0 followed by country code. In ECC, 1 followed by country code. First, we will define the same setting in S4HANA. Later on, I am going to show the same setting in ECC system. One sec. Okay. So the logic for your standard chart of depreciation is 0 followed by country code. Now in the Excel sheet we have already written to define your asset accounting configuration. You must know for which country you are defining it. Your company code belongs to India. You must be defining chart of depreciation for India country. For India country, the logic is the same, 0 followed by country code. 0 followed by India country code is IN. So you have to look at 0 IN here. This is here. Somebody changed description here, ignore it. Otherwise, this would be sample chart of depreciation India. Okay, select this India related thing and you need to click on to chart of depreciation. Here you can put any chart of depreciation 4-digit alphanumeric code of your choice. Normally you will be giving 4-digit code. Out of a 4-digit code, the 2 digits must contain country code, which is India. Don't create your company code. Create something which contains IN in your chart of depreciation. If you're talking about Dell, you can create DEIN. But when you're in the real environment, make sure the naming convention is followed in such a way 2 digits must represent IN, which is your country code, the remaining 2 digits of your choice. So here I am taking DEIN because your company may have different company codes in many countries. You need to have a fixed logic to identify what are the chart of depreciations used or defined in respective country. So normally you may be creating, let's say ZDIN or DEIN. I am going ahead with DEIN here. Put DEIN, click on OK. Now this is asking you to transport number ranges and addresses. Say OK on this. And this is giving another prompt, another message. Do you really want to copy number ranges? We do not want number ranges from the standard chart of depreciation. So you are going to say no to this. You don't want number ranges. You will be creating number ranges on your own. Save this setting. Next one. If you see the completed activities, you will get only one activity completed, which is your copy reference chart of depreciation from 0IN to DEIN. Next one is your specified description of chart of depreciation. Double click on this. Whatever the chart of depreciation we've created, let's open that and change the description. Let me put DEIN is what we created. When you copy it, same description from 0IN will be copied to DEIN. You need to ensure description is changed. Here you are not going to put sample chart of depreciation. You are going to put, let's say, something Dell India chart of depreciation, something like this. I am going to put my description. Dell India chart of depreciation. If you want, here you can put your company code. Since you are practicing, for every country you may want to create a different chart of depreciation to practice the configuration several times. But when you are in a real environment, if you have 2-3 company codes in a particular country, you are not going to create multiple chart of depreciations. One country will strictly have one chart of depreciation. All the company codes in that particular country will use the same chart of depreciation. Right? Enter and then click on save. Enter. Now chart of depreciation description is saved. Next one is copy delete depreciation areas. Double click on this. Make sure you are able to give or you are able to see your chart of depreciation here. Sometimes there may be a different chart of depreciation here. In that case, you have to change your chart of depreciation. Put your chart of depreciation, go inside. Here you are able to see there are 1, 2, 3, in short 8 chart of depreciations which are predefined in India. With this you need to understand, in India there will be the standard requirement or the requirement which may go up to 8 depreciation areas. This is how any real-time company, if you see for an Indian project, this is how you are going to define depreciation areas, because this is the actual requirement that is used to create your depreciation areas. Before we create a depreciation area here, let us try to understand what will be the number of depreciation areas that we need to meet our requirement. So I'll write depreciation areas. So before we write depreciation areas, you have to go to company code prerequisites. If you are not clear about your company code prerequisites, you will not be able to decide how many depreciation areas you need. Okay, number of depreciation areas that you want to create is dependent on your company code prerequisites. Here from the prerequisites, let us take ledgers. How many ledgers we have? Or in short, let me copy this. I'll put this here. Leading ledger, non-leading ledger. How many ledgers we have? One leading ledger, one non-leading ledger. In short, you have 2 ledgers. Similarly, currencies. We have one local currency, one group currency. Likewise, you may have up to 10 currencies in S4HANA system. You need to write the number of currencies that are used by your company code. In our company code, we are using 2 currencies. I am writing 2. Next one, accounting principles. You are going to write or you are going to use 2 accounting principles as of now. So far we have decided 2 accounting principle. Each accounting principle currently is representing one ledger. Each accounting principle is currently representing one ledger. You have 2 ledgers representing 2 accounting principle. One accounting principle for Indian Companies Act, another accounting principle for IFRS. Next one, multiple fiscal year variants. We have 2 fiscal year variants, correct?
Yes.
This is the setup that we have currently defined for our company code. Now your depreciation areas will have mandatory areas plus optional areas. So first one, I'll put mandatory depreciation areas. Now mandatory depreciation areas are always number of ledgers multiplied by number of currencies. Mandatory depreciation areas are always multiplied by number of ledgers with number of currencies. Now here number of ledgers is 2. and number of currencies is 2. How many depreciation areas we need?
4.
You need 4 depreciation areas as mandatory. Right? You need 4 depreciation areas as mandatory. Now, these 4 depreciation areas will represent number of ledgers are 2. Why are we using 2 ledgers? 2 ledgers are always used to represent 2 accounting principle. Whenever you are talking about a ledger, always keep in your mind each ledger is representing an accounting principle. Correct? Just like that, we will not create a ledger. You are going to create a ledger according to the accounting principle. One ledger we are using for accounting principle Indian Companies Act. Another ledger we are using for accounting principle IFRS. So let me write, let's say IFRS 0L INR. What do you understand by this? IFRS accounting principle, 0L leading ledger, INR local currency. Clear?
Great, sir.
Next one I'll put IFRS leading ledger dollar. Is this clear? IFRS leading ledger local currency, IFRS leading ledger group currency. Next one I'll put ICA Indian Companies Act non-leading ledger, which is your D1, INR. Indian Companies Act non-leading ledger local currency. Next one Indian Companies Act non-leading ledger group currency. Clear? 4. Clear why I have written these 4 with these names? Because this is your mandatory depreciation areas, number of ledgers multiplied by number of currencies. You have 2 ledgers, 2 currencies. That is why you are able to see 2 records for each ledger, 2 records for each ledger. If you have 3 currencies, then it will be 2 multiplied by 3, which will be 6. You are going to add IFRS leading ledger third currency, Indian Companies Act non-leading ledger third currency. Now these are your mandatory depreciation areas according to your organization setup, according to your organization structure. Now you have optional depreciation areas. Now mandatory depreciation areas are for postings, optional depreciation areas for reporting. These are only for reporting purpose, these are for posting purpose. Let's say optional depreciation areas for reporting. You can evaluate your fixed asset according to any other logic, any other accounting principle, only for the reporting purpose. There will be no accounting posting, but you are able to evaluate the fixed assets for the reporting point of view. One of the reporting requirement is your Indian Income Tax Act. One of the requirement here is Indian Income Tax Act. For Indian Income Tax Act, we are not going to create any accounting principle, any ledger, but we are only going to create an accounting principle to meet the reporting requirement. Your accounting principle for Indian Income Tax Act is not going to represent any ledger. This is only going to represent fixed asset valuation. You are going to evaluate your fixed assets according to Indian Income Tax Act also. For that, you need to prepare the fixed asset register, fixed asset reports based on Indian Income Tax Act, how my depreciation is calculated, what is my fixed asset value. For that purpose, you are going to create optional depreciation areas. Let's say this is straightforward. Yes, I'll put accounting principle multiplied by number of currencies. This is your accounting principle multiplied by number of currencies. Now, if I want to evaluate my fixed assets according to Indian Income Tax Act, I am going to have one accounting principle. Let's say I'll take one accounting principle multiplied by number of currencies that we have in our company code is 2. 1 multiplied by 2, you are going to get 4 depreciation areas. Sorry, 2 depreciation areas. This is your optional depreciation areas which you are going to create for reporting requirement alone. Now here you are going to create IIT, Indian Income Tax Act. There is no ledger for this INR. Similarly, Indian Income Tax Act, there is no ledger for this dollar. Wherever you have ledger, in the description we have mentioned a ledger. Wherever there is no ledger, in the description there is no ledger. Clear? Clear with this 6 names? Any doubt, any questions you can ask me on this. First point, you need to understand why we have written this 6 depreciation areas. This is your first point of understanding asset accounting. Same logic, same rule is applicable for any country that you implement asset accounting for. Clear why we have written this 6? Or any questions, doubts, confusions, you can ask me.
Sir, I'm having one doubt, sir. As you said, accounting principle is represented by ledger. Why we are not having ledger in optional depreciation?
According to Indian Income Tax Act,
Yes. Why ledger is
for
not represented?
yeah, for Indian Income Tax Act, there is no financial reporting, there is no external reporting. Right? You're not going to prepare reports like TB P&L balance sheet for your Income Tax Act. You are going to prepare this TB P&L balance sheet or any financial statement report only for the Indian Companies Act. So wherever you are going to have reporting requirement, which means external reporting requirement or financial reporting requirement, at that level you are going to create a ledger. Now this Indian Income Tax Act, you are going to talk only for the fixed asset purpose. When you talk about any GL posting, when you talk about any vendor posting, any customer posting, are we going to talk about Income Tax Act accounting principle, or this is used only for the asset accounting, fixed asset valuation purpose?
Asset valuation.
Income Tax Act is used exclusively for the fixed asset valuation purpose. So since this is used only for the fixed asset valuation purpose, this is only a reporting requirement. From the system, you need to submit the fixed asset register according to Indian Income Tax Act. What is the asset value? What is the depreciation? According to Income Tax Act, what is the current net book value? For this purpose, you need to generate the report. To generate the report without a depreciation area, it is not possible in SAP. If you want to generate any report for a fixed asset, depreciation area is mandatory. To generate any report in asset, depreciation area is mandatory. Since you have a requirement to prepare or to evaluate your fixed assets according to Indian Income Tax Act, for this Indian Income Tax Act, we are going to make two depreciation areas based on accounting principle multiplied with currencies logic. You are not going to multiply with ledger because no ledger is used for Income Tax Act. Clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Is this clear? All right. Now what I'm going to do, let me try to create these depreciation areas in system. Now before you create a depreciation area, if we go to SAP, for this depreciation area, you have certain things called as area number. You have area number, which is currently it is showing as 1, 15, 20, 30, 31, 32, 41, 51. Now there is no rule that this same number you have to create. It is your choice to create any number, but there is only one rule. It is your book depreciation must be 1. Only one rule, your book depreciation must be 1, because this is the same
Hello.
logic is one sec. This is the same logic which we use in every project, in every asset accounting. Your book depreciation or your
So,
first
this is Sandeep.
depreciation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Sandeep, I can hear you.
Sir, actually, I have one question. Suppose the company is buying the assets in GBP and their local currency is INR and the group currency is USD. Then how many depreciation areas are required?
Your buying currency is called as transaction currency,
Okay.
right? At a transaction currency level, there is no depreciation area. Depreciation area is created only for your company code currencies.
Okay. Okay.
Clear? Huh?
Yes. Okay.
Oh. Now, you are going to use depreciation area 1 as standard, common in every organization. From next depreciation area, which is from 15 onwards, it is your choice to create as you wish. But the only logic you need to follow is the depreciation areas must be in the ascending order or incremental order. One depreciation area to the next depreciation area, the number should be in the increasing order, not in the decreasing order. Which means, let's say, I'll put area number here. If I put 1 here, now I can put 2 here, I can put 3 here, or I can put 5 here. Now I cannot put 4 here. I am not supposed to change the sequence. I must maintain the ascending order for the depreciation areas. What number I am going to use is my choice. Initially, you are going to decide the same number will be used for all your countries. In the similar approach, you are going to create it. The logic that you are going to create is sequential order based on accounting principle, based on the currency order. Accounting principle and currency order. Let's say first one is your accounting principle IFRS and the currency order is local currency, group currency. First one, as we know, we are going to take as 1. Second one, it is your choice. If you want, take 2. If you want, take 10. If you want, take 20. Your choice. Your choice. But normally, we will go ahead with single digit only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then 6. Clear? We are going to define depreciation areas in the ascending order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You are free to use any number provided the numbers are in the ascending order. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one. Now these are the depreciation areas which are currently existing in the system, but we do not want them. These are the depreciation areas currently existing in the system, but we do not want them. So what you are going to do, you are going to keep only one depreciation area, which is always the first one, and delete all the other ones. First point you need to do is keep the first depreciation area and remove all the other depreciation areas. For that, click on this select all icon. Select all, just untick or unselect the first one, which means all the other depreciation areas are now selected. Delete them. To delete, click on this minus icon. Delete. Okay, now click on save. Those are deleted, only one is left. One is left. Now when I am trying to delete this, we are starting to receive the error messages. The first error message that you are defining, that you are getting here is DEIN area 01 accounting principle is not assigned. Area 1 accounting principle is not assigned. It is giving a message for depreciation area 01 accounting principle is not assigned. Okay, I'll ignore this error message. I'll come back. I'll just go to back one level. Now I'm able to see this screen. It is telling for this accounting principle is not defined. According to this, when you're trying to save, When you're trying to save, just look at this error message. I'll copy this, I'll put this here. Or let me only copy this. Okay, it's already copied. So this is the error message number 1. Let me put this in red color. This is your first error message that you are getting. DEIN, which is your chart of depreciation. Depreciation area 1, accounting principle is not assigned. According to this statement, for every depreciation area, is accounting principle mandatory or not?
Mandatory.
Right?
Mandatory,
According to
sir.
this error, accounting principle is mandatory for every depreciation area that you are defining. Now you may get a question, why we did not write accounting principle here? Here I did not write accounting principle purposefully. What did I write here? I have written only ledger. Mandatory depreciation areas, we have written number of ledger multiplied by number of currencies. In short, whenever you are talking about a ledger is always representing an accounting principle. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? If you are talking about a ledger, wherever you bring the topic of ledger, you must automatically connect an accounting principle. Without accounting principle, you are not going to perform accounting. You are doing accounting is based on an accounting principle, accounting law. Either Indian Companies Act if you are working in India, or the respective companies accounting act, or for group reporting for common accounting you will be using either US GAAP or IFRS. These are all represented for performing your accounting, for generating the reports, which is connected to your ledgers. Now here we need to understand each ledger is represented by an accounting principle. Now when you come to this depreciation area screen, if you don't put accounting principle, system is not allowing you to save any depreciation area. Fine, let's come back to this screen. I'll just go back. I'm able to see this. Now this is area number 1. First let me put the description properly. For area number 1, we thought this is the description. Let me copy this description, put this here, IFRS 0L INR, and then this is relevant for posting or not. This is your mandatory depreciation area. Any mandatory depreciation area is relevant for posting. If it is relevant for posting, you must tick this as real-time depreciation area. This is your real, which means real-time depreciation area. In S4HANA system, every depreciation area is a real-time depreciation area. Okay, what are all this? We will be discussing slowly, but points to be remembered here is in S4HANA system, every depreciation area is a real-time depreciation area. Next one, you have target group. This target group is nothing but ledger. Target group is nothing but ledger. Now next one is your accounting principle. Ledger is grayed out. Ledger is not able to, we are unable to edit or we are unable to write ledger code, but you are able to edit or you are able to input accounting principle, which means when your accounting principle is given, ledger is automatically derived on S4HANA system. When you are giving accounting principle, system will understand the ledger based on the accounting principle. In ECC, this setting is not mandatory, but in S4HANA, especially exclusively for your asset accounting, this setting is must. So far, whatever we have done, we have created a ledger. Now, whenever you create a ledger is automatically followed by a ledger group. If you are creating a ledger, your ledger will by default creates a ledger group automatically. Okay, let's say whether you create a non-leading ledger of L1, L2 or any other code, whatever the code you create as a non-leading ledger, the same non-leading ledger code will become a ledger group by default by the system. You are not going to create a ledger group separately. The moment ledger is created, ledger group is auto created like a shadow. Alright, if you are creating a ledger, same group will become a ledger group. You are not going to create ledger group separately. Clear? Now
Sir,
what
in
is
the
this
real
ledger?
environment, sir, as you had mentioned once that in the real environment we need to create two ledgers. The first one is the leading and the second one is the non-leading. So,
Correct.
what is the requirement of creating this target group or group ledgers?
This target group is nothing but ledger only. The moment you create a ledger, ledger by default becomes a ledger group. You are not going to create a ledger group because there is a requirement to pass ledger specific entries. If you are now you have two ledgers, one leading, one non-leading, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's say you have another ledger requirement. One ledger is for Indian Income Tax, Indian Companies Act, one for IFRS, third one let's say is for some other reporting, some other accounting principle, US GAAP. So one I'll say ICA, next I'll put GAAP, next I'll put IFRS. Now whenever you post any transaction, basically your transaction will not contain any ledger related field. Okay, this is where normally you are going to post entries or similar screen. Your header part will remain constant. Agree?
Agree, sir.
Now, when you are posting the transaction, you do not find a field called ledger or ledger group on this screen. Right? There is no field which talks about whether this entry is posted to leading ledger or non-leading ledger. Is there any specification?
No, sir.
There is no specification. Most of the transactions that you post in your system will represent all the ledgers of your company code. All the ledgers of your company code, which means if you go to a table, now you all know that we have a table to check the ledger assignment for your company code.
Sir.
Right. New session. SE16N. What is the table?
FINSV underscore F4 underscore LDBUKRS.
Right. Come slow. One minute. It is... Okay. FINSV underscore F4 underscore LDBUKRS. This is the table. Put this table, and in this table we need to pass our company code and then execute to verify how many ledgers and how many fiscal years are assigned or used by our company code. Just a sec, this is a little slower now. Okay, in this I am going to pass our company code, which is DEIN. and then let me click on execute. When I click on execute, I am able to see two ledgers here. My company code DEIN is used in leading ledger and is used in non-leading ledger. Now this one is your standard ledger, ignore the ledger type, and next one is your fiscal year variant. For first ledger leading, we are using K4, which is calendar year. Next ledger D1 non-leading ledger, we are using non-calendar year V3 April to March. Assuming you have three accounting principles. Now three accounting principles will be used by three ledgers. IFRS, let's say 0L, Indian Companies Act, let's say D1, US GAAP, let's say D2. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now if I pass any entry, any accounting entry that I pass, this accounting entry is going to update 0L, T1, D2 by default. Any entry that you record will be represented or will be updated in all your ledgers which are posted or which are assigned to your company code. How system knows which ledger is used for your company code is based on this table assignment. From here, system understands what ledgers are used by your company code. Once you get this information, when you pass the entry, this is what you are going to do. But there may be certain requirements. You want to pass certain adjustment entries according to accounting principle. If everything is the same, there is no point of three accounting principle. Is my point valid? If Companies Act, GAAP, IFRS, everything is same, then there is no point of three accounting principle. We would have used only one. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There are certain minor or minute changes between each accounting principle. Now, according to
Yes.
the respective accounting principle, there may be certain adjustments, there may be certain accounting principle specific entries. Now, I may want to pass an entry according to Indian Companies Act law. Now, this Indian Companies Act entry I want to pass and I want to update only in D1 ledger. Valid requirement or not?
Valid, sir.
Right? I want to pass an adjustment entry to represent proper values according to Indian Companies Act. Then this adjustment I want to reflect only in D1 ledger. If this entry is reflecting into D2 or 0L, the values in those ledgers will go wrong. Similarly, you may get a requirement to pass an adjustment entry or to pass an entry according to according to US GAAP only. Valid entry, valid requirement.
Yes, sir.
Now there may be another requirement to pass an entry according to IFRS only in IFRS ledger. Valid requirement.
So this is a group level, na? So
Yeah, group level. But you may get an entry requirement to meet any of the group reporting or local reporting, any other specific reporting perspective. Now there may be another requirement wherein you want to adjust some amount, some postings only in D1 and 0L. Possible? I may want to
possible,
pass
sir.
an entry, but this entry I want to hit only D1 ledger, 0L ledger. I don't want this entry to reflect D2 but only in D1 and 0L. Possible or not?
Possible, sir.
Let's say I want another entry to reflect only in my non-leading ledger, D1 and D2. Possible?
Yes, sir.
Now I may get another requirement to pass only in 0L and D2. This is also possible, which means you may have requirement in any ways to pass the entries. Now to have these kind of requirement, there is no rule that your entry will be posted only to a single ledger. You may be posting entry to a single ledger, you may be posting entry to multiple ledgers also.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Now these things you are going to call it as ledger specific postings. This is called as ledger specific posting. When you talk about ledger specific posting, you are talking about posting an entry to a particular ledger. Now your ledger specific posting can be a single ledger, can be multiple ledger, but according to system, according to you, it is called as ledger specific posting. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
When I'm talking about ledger specific posting, I may post to a single ledger, I may post to multiple ledgers depending on my requirement. Now, if I wanted to post a single ledger, I will be using D1, D2, 0L. If I want to post to specific ledgers, let's say D1 and D2, I need to group D1 and D2 into a different group, ledger group, correct?
Correct, sir.
Out of 3, how system is going to understand I have to update only D1 and 0L? There has to be a group for it. Similarly, for any combination that you have, you will have to create a ledger group. Now, whenever you are posting any transaction to the ledger group, you are going to use FB01L. If you use FB01L, you are going to get a field called ledger group. There is something called a ledger group.
Yes, sir.
Now this ledger group will give you the combination of ledgers. Ledger group can contain one ledger or multiple ledgers. There is no rule. Your ledger group should have more than one ledger. Your ledger group can contain a single ledger or it can contain multiple ledgers. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let me create one test ledger group, test non-leading ledger, FINSC underscore ledger. Now all these points that we are talking are all very important points from your asset accounting point of view, especially in your S4HANA system. Every point that we are discussing now will have a connection to your asset accounting. Now what I'll do, I'll try to create a non-leading ledger. I'll just click on new entry. I'll simply put, let's say, MZ. I'll put MZ. My intention is only to create the ledger. So focus only on the creation part, ignore the description and all. I have given non-leading ledger MZ. Clear? Let me click on save. Now what am I trying to create here? What am I creating? Ledger.
Non-leading ledgers, sir.
Non-leading ledger is what I am creating. Enter, I saved it. Now there is an information which a system is passing on. What is this? Ledger group MZ is created only with ledger MZ. Correct? When you
Yes, sir.
created a ledger, system is automatically creating a ledger group without your notice, without your permission.
Correct, sir.
Right? Ledger group is basically shadow of your ledger. The moment you create a ledger, the same ledger code will become ledger group with single ledger. MZ is your ledger. Ledger group is created with MZ code with MZ ledger. That's it. Because we understood ledger group can contain single ledger or multiple ledgers. Correct? If you have multiple ledgers, you need to create manually. The moment you create any single ledger, by default that ledger becomes ledger group. Right? Now this ledger group on this screen on your asset accounting is represented the same thing. This
Okay,
can be a
sir.
single
Can we
ledger.
assign? Yes, sir. Go on, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, can we assign multiple accounting principle to our non-leading ledger as we are assigning the non-leading ledgers to all the company codes?
Yes.
Okay. So in this
Okay.
case, how would the company, I mean, the system will know that if we put, like, if we assign multiple accounting principle to a non-leading ledger, and if we put one of the accounting principle
This
in this field,
this
yes,
setting is defined at chart of depreciation level, correct?
okay, yes, sir,
Now this chart of depreciation is something that we have already written, right? You are going to assign step number 2. What we are trying to do, define and assign chart of depreciation to company code. Now is this chart of depreciation going to get connected with company code?
yes, sir,
So when you know what is the company code, system automatically knows what are the ledger's accounting principles, leading, non-leading.
yes, yes,
So
sir,
once we define, you are going to see it practically on the same screen.
understood, sir.
Okay. Now here we are defining IFRS 0L INR. But for this, there is something called target group. Target group is nothing but ledger group. Currently, this is not editable, but accounting principle is editable, which means for your company code, you must know what are the accounting principles that you are using. If you do not know what is accounting principle, I have not created any accounting principle so far, then you need to create it. Without accounting principle, it is not possible for us to create asset accounting config in S4HANA system. Why specifically in S4HANA system? Because in S4HANA, accounting principle is straight away connected to asset accounting. If you don't create, you are not going to face problem anywhere in your SAP, but you are going to get stuck. You will not be able to move forward without accounting principle with respect to asset accounting. Now let us define this accounting principle. So to define the accounting principle, we will be going to SPRO. In SPRO, SAP reference IMG, financial accounting, global settings. In this, you have ledgers. Inside the ledger, you will have something called parallel accounting. Open the parallel accounting. If you open the parallel accounting, you will find define accounting principle and assign accounting principle to ledger group. These two settings are straight away reflected in your asset accounting configuration for depreciation areas. Let us verify the accounting principle. Let me open this. And here you have ICA, Indian Companies Act. You have IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, correct? Now what I am going to do, I am going to define two new accounting principles for easy segregation purpose. Because many people will create accounting principles here, let us create our own accounting principle with respect to our company code. Okay, I'll copy these two. So our company code is DEIN. So I am going to put DE representing our Dell. IC I am going to put Indian Companies Act. Then I am going to write DE IFRS. Let me press enter to check if these codes are available or not. These codes are available. Now I am going to put in the description DEIN so that it's easy for us to identify and then understand. These are related to our accounting principle. Clear? This is only a code and then the description and nothing else. Click on save. Now two accounting principles we have created. Let me go back. On the next screen, you have assign accounting principle to ledger group. Open this. Now here you need to click on new entries. Two accounting principles that we have created are, one is DEIF, the second one is DEIC. Indian Companies Act, are we going to use for leading ledger or non-leading ledger?
Non-leading ledgers.
So,
Indian Companies Act is used for non-leading ledger. Our non-leading ledger is D1. Okay, if your non-leading ledger is D1, D1 by default becomes ledger group. Agree? The moment you create a ledger, by default, ledger group also gets created. Similarly, DEIF is used for leading ledger. Leading ledger is 0L. Let me press enter. If you press enter, which field is grayed out? Which field is editable?
Target group is editable, sir. Others are grayed out.
Here. Yeah, accounting principle is grayed out. Accounting principle is grayed out and your ledger is editable. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now
yes,
the field which is grayed out is called as a key field. Field which gets grayed out is called as which field? Key field. Now system is going to verify the key field is not duplicated. System is going to verify key field is not duplicated. What I'll do, I'll try to put DEIF again. Am I able to put DEIF once again? Is system allowing?
no,
Not allowing, sir.
Which means one accounting principle will have only one ledger, but one ledger can have multiple accounting principles. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Got the logic?
Yes, sir.
That is what your question?
Correct, sir. Got it, sir.
Right. Now I am going to save this. Save. Now accounting principle has been assigned with the ledger. Now if you see, leading ledger is there so many times. Here is 0L, 0L, 0L. Correct? Here also 0L, 0L. Which means one ledger can have multiple accounting principle, but one accounting principle cannot have multiple ledger. Reason being, each accounting principle is representing a ledger. One accounting principle must represent only one ledger. It cannot be the other way around. Because on your asset accounting screen, this is accounting principle to ledger mapping, not ledger to accounting principle mapping. Correct? Clear?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes,
this
sir.
IFRS 0L INR is used for leading ledger or non-leading ledger?
Leading ledger.
Leading ledger.
Leading ledger. Now, whenever you're talking about leading ledger, according to your asset accounting in S4HANA, your ledger must represent an accounting principle. For your leading ledger, which accounting principle are we using? IFRS?
Yes, sir.
Right? For IFRS, we created one accounting principle. So we created one accounting principle starting from DE. So you need to pick your accounting principle which is created by us, DEIF. From this drop down which is going to come, we have to pick up DEIF, which is your this one. DEIF, DEIN, International Financial Reporting Standards. Clear? Here system is only giving you the accounting principle code, accounting principle description. Correct? Select the relevant accounting principle that you have created. Don't select whatever comes in the drop down. Then again you're committing a mistake. You need to have a clear understanding, a clear clarity what you are defining for your company code. Now this is what we have created. Select this. The moment I select this, automatically ledger is filled up 0L. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The moment I put accounting principle by default brings the ledger. Press enter. Now let's try to save. Any error message now?
No, sir.
No
Sir,
error
sir,
message.
could you please go to that assign ledger account page, sir, again?
Okay. You just need to press one level back. You will come to that page. This one or the other one, SPRO.
No, sir. Yes, sir. The accounting principle to the ledger assignment.
In the system, your accounting principle is unique value. Yeah, you can ask your question on the screen.
Sir, can you please go back a little bit, like the choose um, the non-leading ledger, sir, that we had created. Like we assign one accounting principle to our non-leading ledger, right?
FINSC underscore ledger. Don't go to that screen now because I
No,
created new accounting principle now.
no, sir. In this space, we assign one accounting principle to a non-leading ledger.
This one.
Yes, sir. This one. So, sir, if we assign like GAAP again to D1, then what system will choose, sir, in this case?
First of all, it is not going to allow you to put same accounting principle second time because this is the key field. This is grayed out.
But, sir, we will assign GAAP, not DEIC or DEIF.
What is it? G?
Like GAP or ICA, any other
Right.
accounting principle.
But currently we have only two ledgers, right? That is why I have created only two accounting principle. But if you
Yes, sir.
have third,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
if you have third ledger, then you will be creating third accounting principle. The way you created this D1, it will be the same way without any changes, 0% change.
Yes, sir. And if we create
Okay.
that accounting principle and assign that to D1,
It will not take. That you can take, that you can assign. Because accounting principle is a key field, ledger is not a key field. D1 can be used in multiple accounting principles.
right, sir. So then in this case, in the SR, like the asset page, how the system will understand, sir, that which accounting principle to be taken or which ledger to be taken.
There you are going to create according to your requirement. Let's say if you're talking about this, three accounting principles.
Yes, sir.
If
And
you're
we have two
talking
ledgers
about,
only.
if you have only two ledgers, you are not going to create three accounting principle because one ledger will represent only one accounting principle.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you're not going to have two accounting principle. Either you have to tell this entry is according to IFRS or according to GAAP or according to Companies Act. I cannot say this entry according to two accounting principle because each accounting principle will represent an accounting book. Now each accounting book is called as a ledger in your accounting, in your SAP. Otherwise, this is purely for the reporting requirement, purely for the reporting purpose used in your asset accounting without any ledger.
Understood, sir. Understood.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is how we created ledger and then accounting principle. After that, on your account, on your depreciation areas, we have assigned this. Here, when you look at the depreciation area 1, description is given real-time depreciation posting Target ledger group is 0L, which is coming based on your accounting principle. Next one, you have GL posting indicator. Okay, posting type, you have an option here with 4 drop down options. Area does not post, area post in real time, area post depreciation only, area post APC immediately, and depreciation. Out of these 4, remember only 2, which is your 0 and 1. As of now, keep 0 and 1 only in your mind. 0 is used for the depreciation areas which are used exclusively for the reporting purpose. 1 is used for the depreciation areas which are with your accounting principle and ledger. Now out of 6 depreciation areas that we were talking about here, how many depreciation areas out of 6 contains the ledger?
4, sir.
Out of 6, 4 contains the ledger. When there is a ledger, there is a posting or no posting?
Posting.
Postings.
Right? When there is a ledger, there is a posting. When there is no ledger, is there any posting?
No.
No posting, because to post any transaction in SAP, you need a ledger. No ledger, no posting. Now, 2 depreciation areas are having no ledgers, which means for area number 5, area number 6, there is no ledger, there is no posting. From area number 1 to area number 4, there is a ledger, there is a posting. Now, since this has a ledger 0L, this will have to be posted in real time, because in S4HANA system, every depreciation area is real time posting. If you are posting, you have to post it in real time. This is your area number 1, which is copied. Next one, what we need to do, we need to similarly create the next one. Short description also, I am going to put IFRS 0L INR. Short description also, I am putting IFRS 0L INR. The other settings which you are able to see at the bottom, as of now, ignore it. I am going to explain them separately. The first point is to make sure that we are able to add depreciation areas and assign to the company code without any error. That is your point number 1. Let's save this. Come back. Now you need to create additional depreciation areas by copying existing depreciation area. This is your INR. Select this. Click on copy. Area number will be 2. IFRS 0L dollar. IFRS 0L dollar. Save it. Now there is a message which is coming again. Now copy this message, put this here. This is your error message number 2. Check the posting control for area 1 or area 2. Okay, let's go back here. Just go back one level. You are able to see 2. Double click. Now if you put this area post in real time, this message is coming. Let me try to change this to area does not post, and then I'll come back. Let me try to save it. Is this saved now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let me come back. Open depreciation areas. Okay. Now how many we have?
2.
2. If I try to put this to 1, it is giving an error. Area number 2. If I try to change to area post in real time, if I try to, sorry, for the second one, area number 2, if I try to put area post real time, if I try to save it, This is giving an error message, and let's open this error message. So it is talking about within asset accounting, there can only be one depreciation area that can manage acquisition and production cost and also post in real time. However, according to the settings of chart of depreciation, both depreciation area 1 and 2 managed and post APC at the same time. This result would be the value is duplicated in financial reporting with general ledger accounting. Now this error, let's try to understand. Now before we understand that error, I'll try to post a document and then show you something. F-02 DEIN INR. Any account if I take, when I'm taking any posting, which currency am I giving, am I representing?
INR.
This INR is called as local currency or group currency?
Local currency.
Local.
Local currency.
I am giving local currency. Now I'll give the same account for credit. Okay, 50, maybe 2. Now I'll go simulate the entry. In which currency my entry is being posted?
INR.
INR.
Com-
Now
Local
if you
currency.
see this, if you see this INR or local currency, there is something called group currency. Group currency, some value is coming. Are we giving this group currency value, or this is something coming automatically by the system?
Automatics.
This
Automatic.
is coming automatically coming by the system. We are not doing anything. We are not posting anything in dollar. Dollar value is auto updated by the system. Am I correct? Right? Dollar value is auto updated by the system. This is just a conversion number of your local currency that you have given manually. Is my statement correct? This 1.25 is just the conversion of local currency whatever I have given. I am not considered about why 1.25 is coming. This because of your standard SAP settings at the time of your baseline config. You have decided your company is going to have two currencies, local and group currency. Group currency is always derived based on local currency considering M exchange rate type. Is this point correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct, sir.
Right? You're not posting anything specifically in group currency. All your postings, everything is taken care in the local currency. Group currency is just a derived number based on the exchange rate, which means even here area number 2 is a group currency. Local currency is your actual posting. Group currency is a converted number. Am I correct? Local currency is your actual posting. Group currency is a converted number. Am I correct or not?
Correct, sir.
Group currency is just a converted number of local currency. Whatever the INR value is there, INR value with INR to dollar exchange rate will give you the dollar number, which means you're practically not posting anything in dollar. Your posting will take place in INR. This INR figure will be represented in dollar automatically. This is according to your parallel accounting. Every depreciation that must be represented in all your currencies that are used by your company code. According to that, anything that you are posting in INR must be converted into all the currencies that you are assigning in your company code. So this is not a posting. That is why for area number 2 you are going to put, sorry, you are not going to put area post in real time. This is wrong. Double click on this. Dollar is not posted. Dollar is only a converted number of 01. Okay. Enter, save it. Clear? Why only one is real time? Why 2 is not real time? Sorry, it does not post. Because 2 is a derived number. Now let us copy these two and create as 3 and 4. Click on these two, copy, make this 3. For 3, description is this. Copy this, put this here, ICA D1 INR. ICA D1, sorry, not 0L. Yeah, this is the next one, which is your fourth one, ICA D1 dollar. This is also ICA D1 dollar. Now third one, fourth one, again the same logic. Non-leading ledger local currency is real time. Non-leading ledger group currency is area does not post it because it is a converted number of local currency. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Ledger local currency is real time posting. Ledger other currency is converted number of local currency. Any converted number of local currency area does not post. Am I clear? Ledger local currency area post in real time. Ledger other currency area does not post. Clear? Confused? Let me save this.
Accounting principle changes, sir.
Yeah. Now there is one more error that you are getting. This one. Now each error that you are getting, you have to understand. Now this error is talking about area 1 and 3. So let's go to this, close. You have to understand, you are talking about D1 ledger. For D1 ledger, your accounting principle is not IFRS, your ledger is not 0L. D1 is the ledger, the target group must be D1 here. Correct?
Yes, yes,
To
sir.
get D1 here, you need to open. This is connected to your accounting principle. For D1 non-leading ledger, we are using DEIN Indian Companies Act. If you tick this, 0L has become D1. Similarly, if you put this, 0L has become D1. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me save this. Now there is no error. Adoption of values not allowed. Open this message. A depreciation area can only adopt values from a different depreciation area to which same accounting principle is assigned. In chart of account, in chart of depreciation DEIN, area 4 adopts the values from 0, 1. However, the accounting principle are assigned to two depreciation areas. What this error message is talking about is, now 4 is what currency? Dollar.
USD.
4 is US dollar, which is group currency. Group currency is always converted from which currency? Local currency.
Company code currency.
Yes, sir.
Right? Group currency is always converted from local or company code currency. If you are talking about D1, D1 means non-leading ledger. Non-leading ledger group currency should be converted from non-leading ledger local currency or leading ledger local currency.
Leading
Non-leading ledger group currency will be converted from non-leading local or leading local.
Non-leading locals.
It should be converted from non-leading local. Now system is telling when you are trying to save, a message is coming. Let's copy this message. This is another message. Okay. Now it is talking about area 4. Let's okay. Go back. Double click on this 4. If you double click on 4, anywhere you are representing 0, 1 or area 1 here.
No, sir.
Anywhere is it calling or representing area number 1 in this? If you go to 3, anywhere you are able to see ledger assignments and all? No, right? So if you are not able to find anything as such, like area 4 is calling 1, you are good to go. Click on this save, because this is just a warning message. Ignore this. Continue. Now we have got 4 depreciation areas. Now we have 2 more depreciation areas.
Yes, sir.
Now let's copy 2 more depreciation areas. Make this as 5. Description for this is IIT
No accounting principle.
copy this, put this and enter. Make this to 6 and this description will be IIT dollar 5 and 6. For 5 and 6, do we have any accounting principle?
No, sir.
We don't have any accounting principle as of now, but we need to create one accounting principle or not?
Yes, sir.
First of all, these 2 depreciation areas for Indian Income Tax Act, are we going to create any postings or no postings?
No postings.
No posting.
When there is no posting, do we need a ledger or we do not need a ledger?
We
don't
don't
need, sir.
require.
We don't need a ledger.
We don't need a ledger because these are not used for posting. If you put accounting principle, system is going to bring a ledger or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you put a ledger, if you put the accounting principle, system is
Okay.
going to bring a ledger here. Now let us verify one thing. In the accounting principle SPRO, whether you are able to create an accounting principle but without a ledger. Global settings, ledger, parallel accounting, accounting principle, new entries. I'll put DEII, DEIN, Indian Income Tax Act. Correct? Is this right? Now on the assignment screen, let us put this one, DEII. I'll leave ledger blank. I'll try to save. Are we able to save accounting principle without the ledger?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now let me come to this screen. I'll change accounting principle to DEII, Indian Income Tax Act. I am able to assign accounting principle but without the ledger.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now I'll go back. Now both are not relevant for posting. Right? I'll double click on the point number 5. This area does not post. Area number 6 also does not post. Go back. Now are this correct? Indian income tax is not posting anywhere. Correct?
Sir, we can
Yes, sir.
leave the accounting principle field blank also, no, sir.
You can leave this blank also, but to understand which accounting principle we are using this for, this is going to
Okay,
help
okay,
you out.
okay, okay.
Okay, if you leave it blank, then there may be a question mark, which accounting principle?
We can write in name of depreciation area.
Right, you can write in the name of depreciation area, but if you assign this, this is more meaningful.
Okay, okay.
Okay, now I am going to save it. When you are trying to save it, this is giving an error message. No settings found for accounting principle DEII. Let's copy this error message. Put this here. Open this error message. This is telling no ledger group assignment found for accounting principle DEII. Now it is telling check the settings made in the customizing activity this assign accounting principle to ledger group, which means system is telling if you are assigning the accounting principle, there must be a ledger. Without a ledger, accounting principle cannot be used. Without the ledger, accounting principle cannot be used. Clear the error message? This error
Yes, sir.
that you got, no settings found for accounting principle DEII, which means you are assigning accounting principle here, but you are not representing any ledger here. Accounting principle without a ledger is not accepted. Go here, remove the accounting principle, press enter now. Let's try to save. Now this time this is giving another error message. Accounting principle not assigned. If you assign, you got an error message. If you don't assign, there is another error message. Correct? Now the way you are changing the settings, the number of errors, type of errors that you are receiving are different.
Yes, sir.
Now open this once again. The accounting principle is not completely assigned for area 5 of chart of depreciation DEIN. Assign an accounting principle to each depreciation area. This accounting principle must contain a ledger group in which record is for valuation. It is telling accounting principle is mandatory. It is also telling ledger is also mandatory. But according to our requirement, you don't need a ledger. Correct?
Yes, sir.
But it is stopping you from creating. Let's close this, double click on this. Then how we are going to maintain this? If this is not posting, this is not real time. Correct? If there is a posting, this is real time. If there is no posting, there is no real time. Now, if you are talking about this real time depreciation area, what is this? A real depreciation area not allowed for derived depreciation area. Enter this, open this. You want to change a real time depreciation area into a derived depreciation area. This change is not possible for technical reasons. It is telling delete depreciation area, create the depreciation area again by making a copy of appropriation area. Okay, it is not allowing us to remove this tick. Let me press enter. Now if I come down, now I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Now what needs to be done? Should we remove this and then proceed with the requirement, or this is your actual requirement? This is your actual requirement to have two things.
Yes, sir.
Now if I go back, if I try to remove these two, it is not allowing. This is giving this one. It is telling for depreciation area 5, area 6, assign a ledger group. But according to our requirement, we don't have a ledger group. Real time you are going to put accounting principle, you are going to put blank. But system is not accepting. What to do?
Leading ledger group you have to.
Can I put accounting principle?
IFRS.
IFRS? Okay, if I put IFRS,
You can change the area post depreciation maybe.
area does not post is already there.
Area
Let's
post
say
depreciation.
here also let me put IFRS. Area does not post is fine. Is this what you mean to say? Now this is where, in this kind of situations, is where you are going to refer the standard chart of depreciation. Now we are a little confused what to do, how to define this kind of requirements. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now exactly to meet these kind of requirements, SAP delivers predefined chart of depreciations. Now what I am going to do, I am going to cancel this, save them as it is with these settings. If you have ledgers, it is not going to stop you, it will allow you to proceed. Save, go back. Now let me click on this depreciation areas again. What is the standard depreciation chart of depreciation for India?
0 IN.
0 IN.
0 IN. Put 0 IN. Check how this is created without accounting principle. Now there are certain things which are created, but there are no accounting principle. For area does not post, you have without accounting principle. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then why our things are not allowed? How come these are allowed? Double click on this. Area does not post. This is showing one accounting principle here, description. But down below, anything you are able to see? Now if you are able to save, it's already saved. Then why it is not allowing in our case? Why this is allowed here? Let's go to our depreciation area now. DEIN. If you remove this, and if you remove this is what was there. If you try to save, this is the problem, right? Let me remove these two also. Let me try to save. Same problem. Now let me try to delete 5 and 6. Save it. Okay, with 4 we are able to save it, but 5 and 6 is also needed for our requirement. Let's come back. Copy delete depreciation areas. DEIN. Let's try to copy from this once again. Make it as 5. IIT INR. IIT INR. Right? You don't want a ledger. Remove this. Double click on this. See if you are able to use anything. Area does not post. Okay. It is telling a real depreciation area. Let's put this and let's try to save it. No, still giving the error message. This is telling target ledger is required, but we are unable to save this. Let's try to play with the other things. area post this one. Let's try to save. Still the same error. If you try to use the fourth option, click on save, same error, right? Let's say you have alternative depreciation area. What is this alternative depreciation area? Cancel this. Area does not post. Alternative is not coming. Do you want to edit entries? Click on yes. No, this is not coming anything here. Come down, check if you have anything here. Nothing is editable here, everything is grayed out. Then how you are going to save this depreciation areas? How we are going to create this?
Target ledger group.
Which one?
This target ledger group, it's blank, right?
Yeah, this is blank because we have not assigned any accounting principle. Or what I'll do, I'll try to put leading ledger accounting principle, and then I'll try to put area does not post. Let me try to save it. Are we able to save this now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You are able to assign an accounting principle, and you are telling that this depreciation area is not relevant for posting. Let's say similarly, I'll try to create by copying this 6 IIT dollar, same information, save it. This is slow. So what we did finally, we have assigned the accounting principle of leading ledger, and we put the tick mark of non-leading ledger. Sorry, area does not post.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now these are saved. Overall, we have got 6 depreciation areas now. Become slow.
One doubt. So uh, actually it should be non-leading ledger group, right? Target group, because it's for Indian Income Tax Act.
Correct. When you are posting, area does not post. So whatever you put DEIC is not going to create any difference. Because the GL posting indicator is does not post. Correct? Huh?
Yes.
Right, it has become slower. Save. enter. If I go back, open this depreciation areas again, your chart of depreciation, you are able to see 6. You are able to see 6. Now, if you notice this once again, now look at 2, look at 4, look at 5, look at 6. Look at 2, 4, 5, 6. Everything is area does not post.
Yes, sir.
If you look at 2, 4, 5, 6, everything is does not post. Even for this, even though this is does not post, we have assigned an accounting principle and then ledger. Correct? If you look
Yes,
at
sir.
area number 2, area does not post, accounting principle is assigned. If you look at area number 4, area does not post, accounting principle is assigned. But when it comes to 5 and 6, we try to think in a different way and we were lost for some time. Correct? But if you see the settings once again, it is the same logic. Answer is within our screen. How to do if you are not posting the depreciation? Still, accounting principle is a mandatory. Agree? Whether to post or
Yes, sir.
not to post is represented by your GL indicator. Clear, right? Now we have posted, we have created 6 depreciation areas and we are able to save it. Now we'll stop this here today. I want everybody to create one chart of depreciation and create 6 depreciation exactly as it is and then save. Do not do any settings further. Only till here I want you to do and then save it. This is not going to take more than 15 to 20 minutes, correct? To define a chart of depreciation, to save 6 depreciation areas, maximum 15 to 20-minute task, not beyond that. Make sure you complete it till here so that the additional settings that we will do tomorrow will be easy for you to understand and then config.
Okay.
Okay, let me stop this recording.